All praises to the Most High God of Israel. It's a blessing to be before you this evening, Israel, for our midweek teaching. My name is V.C.E. Smith, and I am the rib of the watchman. And tonight's class, as we are going to continue on showing you and teaching you the structure of how we're set up as a people and everything. Tonight, I'm going to hit on just the subject of the commandments, the structure, which is the statutes, and the judgment, which is the acts that have to be performed after the law is brought forth, and then the statute that pertains to that law, and then the judgment comes after that. So we have a lot of people, and I know they mean well, but just meaning well is still not good enough when it comes to the Most High God. You say that you keep the commandments and you keep God's statutes and you keep his judgments, and you do not. And we want to get this straight, because some of you are blaspheming the Most High God and you don't even know it. So we're going to look at the structure and how this is set up. But we're going to open your understanding up with giving you an understanding of law, giving you an understanding of statute, and giving you an understanding of judgment. And y'all know that when they came in and took Israel, they got all our books, all our doctrines, all our writings, and they know all about us. They know, they tried to structure their society off of ours, and they did a piss poor job at doing that. But today, we're gonna look at how law, statutes, and judgments are set up, and how important they are, and how they're utilized. We know that in Helica, which is what I call it, this place, this is America, which is hell for Israel, is structured under its laws. Now, they make these laws up and come up with the things that will go against Israel, whatever they think they can come up and make up that would harm or hurt, or they know Israel will be put in a situation where they're going to break these laws. So they make their law. You don't even know. You're the people. You're about your busy day. You're working. You're trying to figure out how you're going to pay your bills and how you're going to take care of your children, put food on the table. You know, those that aren't doing that are hustling off to work and going to doctor's appointments. Your whole life is spent busy. So while you're busy, they're looking at you and at life and how you structure it, and then they make laws pertaining to how they could trap you in many different ways to make money off of you. That's how their structure is set up. So they took the laws of our God as their top 10, which they don't even abide by. But these laws, and they use them. Now, most of them are against Israel because they know the law that they govern, the thou shalt not kill and steal and all that came from Israel. So, to give you an understanding of how law works, and the statute of law, and the judgment of law, let's break this thing down. Now, they're making the laws. You don't know anything about them. They probably have in everybody's county, town, state, city, hundred thousands of laws. And you know the main ones. You can't kill a person. You can't steal from a person. You know, all that kind of good stuff. You know the basics, but you don't know all the laws that are written, because when they're in their chambers and when they're in their places or whatever, however that system works, watch how a bill is made and then how something becomes law. This is what they do. So the reality of it is they write a law. You're the person. You're the people. Now we're going to break this down into two people so that you get a clear understanding. They write the law. This is the law, and this is the people. Let's start out with Israel. So the law is written, and this is Israel. Thou shalt not kill. So when this law is broken, the law keepers, which are the group of people, y'all call them officers, off his sir, that you call them officers, they are the ones that come out when they are contacted about the law being broken, and they come out to a Hebrew and they determine whether or not, based on the statutes of their law, whether or not you broke it. So we say, all right, they come out, they find out, oh, well, so-and-so said you did this, so-and-so said you did that, we look on you, we find this, you are now considered guilty of this crime. So now under our statute, our law that we have written, we can take you and put you in a holding place. So this is where the statute comes in. So now you've determined the law that we said has been broken. And you come and you sit. And you're sitting in a place where they are now determining the statute of this law that you have broken. So what is the statute of this law? Well, the statute of this law means that anyone who breaks the law of killing, the judgment to that law is death. We're going to use this as the Hebrew. So I'm going to give you an idea of how they don't keep their statutes, and they don't keep their laws, and they don't keep their judgments. So this judge, or the group that decides that the statute of this law is death, decides, okay, well, this Hebrew that is in the holding cell, now the judgment is death. So they take this Hebrew back, and they decide, okay, well, we're going to kill you on such and such a date, and blah, 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 blah. That is how the law is structured and set up. So let's just say now we deal with an Ahelican that lives in Ahelica, and their law is set up. And let's say that a Ahelican in Ahelica wears a uniform. So maybe it's an off his sir. So when they kill, and let's look at it from the angle of a black person, because the laws are different and the rules change in the statutes when they are black. So the law is thou shalt not kill. So we have to send them out based on our statutes. So when they come out, they may take that person back to wherever it is. They act like they're going to hold them or whatever. So now the statute becomes whatever they choose it to be, because they don't keep their statutes. So let's say the statute is when you kill a person, the judgment is death, because thou shalt not kill. But because you wear a uniform, we can change the statute. And now the statute is, let's get together and let's think of something we can make this statute. Well, let's say it's self-defense. How does that sound? Because they could be going out and they don't know what they're going into, and they're having this conversation back and forth. So now the statute is holding cell, waiting for the statute to come down. The statute is that they are not guilty because they were defending themselves against a black person, because that's what their job is. Their job is to go out and defend themselves against black people. So the judgment is not guilty. Because why? Our statute changed to fit our situation. Well, when we are dealing with the Hebrews, and we were a people all together, and we had our laws and our structure set up, God said that you had to keep his commandment, his statute, and his judgment. So we know now, based on how their society is set up off of ours, how they don't keep their judgments, they don't keep their statutes, they don't keep their laws. Okay, another scenario is, I was born in the 60s, and as a young person coming up, I knew that it was against the law to have drugs. I mean, I didn't know very many people who used heroin. I didn't know anybody that used heroin, actually. I knew people who smoked marijuana, and I heard about a few people that may have done cocaine, but I didn't know anything about how the law actually worked, except I knew it was a crime, they said, for you to do these drugs. Well, back then, if you got caught with heroin or cocaine or marijuana or whatever, as far as my thinking and understanding was, that the law said that this was a crime. So when you get to the statute of it, for black people, if you get caught with a roach, you get life in prison. So that was the judgment, because you're automatically guilty. You get life in prison. Well, I don't know what it worked for white boys. Probably white boys got to go, and they go in and sit in the holding cell, and that's time served, and they get out or whatever. But I know for some black folks, they would get caught with any drug of any kind, and they pretty much went away, because that was their structure of law, their statute, and their judgment. Well, now it's 2016, and their law and their statute, because now there's a heroin epidemic, and this heroin is not really affecting these kind of folk. So now the statute has changed, where it used to be you get caught with drugs, you went downtown, but you don't do that anymore, because it's not affecting the Negroes. These are our good white kids. So our statute now is we must help them. We'll change the statute to, some places say you can give them this shot. I mean, they done used so much drugs, they slumped over in the car, and the babies are in the back seat, and you run over there and you help them and you revive them and you bring them back to life. No charges should be filed against them. And then we got this new thing where if you use the heroin, don't go to jail now. The statute has been changed to where we will get you into rehab, and you can bring that heroin user, and no charges will be filed against you in some places, and no charges will be filed against the heroin user, and we will put them in a rehab center. Now, folks smoking reefer ain't never died from smoking reefer, but they in prison for life. But these honkies and these white children and these white folks have decided their drug of choice is the heroin. So now our statute changes so that we can't put them in jail and we can't put them in prison. We'll fix it where they can go get some help. So that means they changed their statutes, because I know when I was coming up, it wasn't like that. But I see now, because it's on television and on the internet and being blowed up to perfection about heroin or whatever you call it, this drug is now a sickness and a disease, and we have to help the poor people, and we have to save them. We've taught our officers to be able to inject them when they're slumped over about dead and bring them back to life and all this good stuff, because it's the different laws and statutes for different people. So we're going to look at Israel, and we're going to look at how things work for Israel. Okay, we are taught that we are to keep the law, and we are to obey the statutes and obey his judgments. But Israel, we don't do that. And we don't do that anymore because we have no priest. It's the priest that handle dealing with that. Now, even in your natural life, even in this life, you are living your life every day, and you're doing all the things that you have to do based on your survival. And you know, there are many times that you have done something, or you know someone that has done something that would be considered against the laws of this land, maybe even against the laws of God. But there are no priests to call to come out and handle the situation, so it seems like you just get by. Well, in our society, they'll tell you in a minute, call the police. There's nothing transpires until you call the hellhound. When you bring the hellhound into your neighborhood, you invite trouble. Now, I know there are cases when many people say, well, I had to call the police because they were doing this and they were doing that. Well, 99% of the time now, if you call them on your children, they're going to die. If what they're doing is that bad that you want them dead, go ahead and call them. Because now their structure is set up, shoot on sight. I don't care what they're doing. I don't care if their vehicle is stalled. I don't care if they're just walking down the road. Whatever. Pull your gun out and shoot to kill. So nothing transpires until you call them or until they're contacted. So many of things are going on. There's laws being broken all day long. But until somebody calls and tells them. Now, they do have a system that they use in a helicopter where they can drive around and they can look out and they can just say, oh, I'm going to pick that one and see if they're doing something against our laws. They have that too. But 99% of the time, they have to be, well, 90% of the time, they have to be called. So it's the same way it happened in Israel. Even when we were back in Egypt, before we got to the promised land, when Moses killed that Egyptian, they was looking for Moses. It was too Hebrew Israelites who said, should we tell on your fucking ass? Huh? Because the authorities don't know what's going on until you inform them. That's why they try to come into your neighborhoods and they try to act like they're officer friendly, and they want to get to know you and be a part of you so that you can tell on each other. Y'all learn that one day. You'll learn that. I know some of y'all live in some of the worst neighborhoods on this planet, but it's all about life and death now for you. It's not about just stopping crime, because they don't come out to stop what you consider crime. They come out to kill you. All right, we're going to get past that. Now, in Israel, my father was giving his laws to Moses. He gave them to Moses, and they became Moses' law. But the statutes and the judgment remain God's. You have to keep his commands that he has given you, the law. Then the statute comes, and then the judgment. So let's look at some of how we know y'all aren't keeping the statutes and the judgments of God, because there are actions that have to take place when this happens. So let's look at Ezekiel 44. And in Ezekiel 44, we're going to start at verse 21. And another thing you got to learn too is when you're reading the word, you have to know the setting of this word and how it is. Now, when Moses talks to certain people and certain groups, he's not talking to everybody, and he's not talking to everybody that you think. Okay, let's look at Exodus 12 first. Let's look at Exodus 12:37 so I can get your mind set for when I go back to 44. All right, Exodus 12 verse 37 and 38. Let's listen to what it says. It says, "And the children of Israel journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth. About 600,000 on foot were men, besides the children, and a mixed multitude went up also with them." Now, that's a lot of folks. Now we come back to Ezekiel 44. I want you to have this mindset, because you have to know who Moses is talking to, when he's talking to, and the size of the groups he's talking to. Because when we had our temple was only so big. And I think y'all get the wrong idea. Every time you read it, you imagine even a football stadium. Let's take a football stadium. A football stadium can hold, some of them can hold, 60,000 people? 80,000, 90, I don't know if they can even hold 90,000. But this is not how it was for the temple. The temple was only so big. So the temple would have to be the size of Texas in order for all these folks to come into it, for Moses to talk to them. All right? Do you get where I'm going? So there are times when they went into the temple where the congregation was, which the congregation, y'all know that there's the mercy seat. There's the congregation, and then there's the altar. These are three pieces of furniture that sat in the temple. And when he called the congregation, those are the sons of Aaron that took care of the temple. So when he spoke to the congregation in the temple, at the congregation, he's talking to them around this piece of equipment, or this piece of furniture inside the temple. So that was not thousands and thousands and thousands of people. Okay? Now, let's go here to Ezekiel 44, and let's try to break this thing down, dealing with our laws and who the laws are given to and how the structure is set up. "Neither shall any priest drink wine when they enter into the inner court." So no, like religious folks and Christians, they're made up rules that a man of God can't drink. You can drink whatever you want to drink. If you are a priest, you cannot drink wine when you enter into the inner court. All right. There's a reason for that, and we're going to get down into the teaching, and we're going to find out you can't be lit or high when you're dealing with the law of God. When you have to go out and convict someone of breaking God's law, because let me tell you something, when you break God's law, there is a stiff penalty. So you can't be a lush head or a drunk going out there trying to tell somebody something about the law and then coming before God to get the statute on it and then carrying out the judgment. So that's why he told them, don't drink when you come into the inner court. Neither shall they take for their wives a widow, nor of her. We don't even have to read out. Let's just get on down here to the meat, because I was looking at all that. Y'all read that. I'm not reading all that. Y'all read that. Let's get here to... Let me bring out 24. Verse 24. And in controversy they shall stand in judgment, and they shall judge it according to my judgment, and they shall keep my law and my statutes in all mine assemblies, and they shall hallow my Sabbaths. Now that's talking about the priest. Everything that took place in the temple, the holy men of God, the house of Israel, did. They had to keep this. So whenever the law came down, let's say it was a Wednesday and God decided that, y'all got more laws than just the 10 commandments, and he decided that, I'm gonna make a law of so and so and so and so thing. He would tell Moses, they would discuss it, and he'd get the law straight. Then Moses would take it to Aaron, and Aaron would take it to his sons, which are the congregation, and he would teach them what thus said the Lord concerning this law. So the people didn't know anything about it. The people had no clue this was a law of God, because they lived in their cities and their towns and all around about. Because this only took place at the temple. Are you getting it? So it's the same way as when they decide to make a law downtown in your state or your city or your town, and you're going about your life living and you don't even know the law has been made. Yes, that happened in Israel. All right, let's keep on going. He says, and they shall keep my laws and my statutes in all mine assemblies, and they shall hallow my Sabbaths, and they shall come to no dead person to defile themselves, and so on and so on. So this is not you, Israel. This is dealing with Levi. So Levi is the one that handles the law. Now we're going to look at a scenario about how the law, the statute, and the judgments are carried out in Israel. So let's go to Leviticus 10, and we're going to start with verse 1. And again, I say y'all read the names. I could give a care less about these names because it's dealing with names I cannot pronounce. I speak this shit-ass language, which I call it dog. Because they're beasts, they're animals, they're out in the field. We had to be forced to learn their language. So I don't know my language, and I don't know any other language, and I'm not too good at this language because I'm Hebrew. So let's go ahead and let's look at verse 1. And Nadab and Abimuah, the son of Aaron, took either of them his censer, and put fire thereon, and put incense thereon, and offered strange fire before the Lord, which he commanded them not. Now you're going to see how serious God is about his commandments as I go on teaching this, because God doesn't play. Y'all play. Y'all been playing, and y'all been playing with God's word a lot, because y'all the priest, y'all the praying folks, y'all talk to God. God don't talk to nobody but his high priests. His high priest and their sons. And he only talks really to the high priest and the king, nobody else. And they bring it down to everybody else, and it dwindles down. But we're going to get into that at another time. But we're going to deal with this right now. It says, verse 2, and there went out fire from the Lord and devoured them, and they died before the Lord. Now, why did they die? Because they broke a law. They already broke a law, and they did it in the temple. And Moses said unto Aaron, this is it that the Lord spake, saying. Now, let me say that again. Then Moses said unto Aaron. Now this happened to his sons, but God didn't tell Aaron. Who was in charge? Moses. God spoke to Moses and told Moses. Now Moses is doing what? Telling Aaron. And this is how it works in Israel. This is why Elijah is coming to put the house of Levi back in order, because there's no structure in Israel. Israel does not have it set up for his laws, statutes, and judgments to be performed, to keep order in Israel. You must obey the Most High God, and you're not doing that. You can't do it. You don't have any priest. I don't want to go there, but let me finish this. So Moses is going to speak unto Aaron. This is that the Lord spake, saying, I will be sanctified in them that come nigh me, and before all the people I will be glorified. So he's saying, God darn it, when you come before me, I will be sanctified. Do not bring any sin before me. Do not perform any acts of sin before me. I have written this law for you. These are my commandments, and you will obey them. And as far as the people are concerned, any act that I do, anything that I say, I will be glorified in it. But not y'all. Y'all glorify Jesus. That's another story. And Aaron held his peace. So in other words, you got two charcoal crispy barbecued sons laying here, and you got to hold your peace about it because they broke God's law. Let's move on. Y'all think God plays when he's talking about his law. Y'all keep it. Y'all keep his statutes and his judgments. You's a motherfucking lie if you do. Verse 4. And Moses called Mishael and then Ephraim and the sons of Uriel and the uncle of Aaron. And this is another thing y'all have to know. When he talks about people and he's dealing with the priest, the people are all of Aaron's relatives. He has uncles, aunties, cousins, nieces, nephews, in-laws. All these are priests. They're priests as well, but they are not high priests. So when he says in certain chapters in the books, and he says the people, and he's talking to the people, when he's dealing with the priests, he's talking to the people that are a priest. Then when he breaks it on down, he's talking to the congregation, those that are around the congregational seat, which are the sons of Aaron. All right. So he says, and said unto them, come near. Carry your brethren from before the sanctuary out of the camp. Huh? Get them out. They charred, burnt up bodies. Just take them out of this. Get them out of the camp. So they went near and carried them and their coats out of the camp. They put two crispy charred little bodies on little beds, and they threw their coats over their arms, and they took them out. As Moses had said. And Moses said unto Aaron, and unto Eleazar, and unto Itamar, his sons, uncover not your heads. See, they wore hoodies. That was a hood. They had a hoodie. Put a hood on. Now, they couldn't have that hood off when they went out because the people could see the tears, or the people could see the expression on their face of sorrow. He said, cover it. Don't you uncover your head. Neither rent your clothes, lest ye die, and lest wrath come upon all the people. But let your brethren, the whole house of Israel, your brethren, the whole house of Israel, who are you talking to, Israel? Levi. Bewait the burning which the Lord hath kindled. In other words, all y'all know about it, and nobody can mourn. Nobody can rent their clothes for the loss of their brother. Nobody can shed a tear. Nobody can sow sorrow, because God did what God was going to do because they broke the law. All right. And ye shall not go out from the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, the furniture, the seat, the congregation, the altar, the congregation, and the seat. All three of these. So there's a door there. The door has a curtain. The door, then the curtain's back, and the seat is there, and the altar is there where they burn the sacrifice, and then the testimony, the congregation is behind that. When you go out, when you leave out of this temple, lest ye die, for the anointing oil of the Lord is upon you. And they did according to the word of Moses. And the Lord spake unto Aaron, saying, do not drink wine nor strong drink, thou nor thy sons with thee, when ye go into the tabernacle of the congregation. When you come into this temple, which is the house that the congregation sat in, the piece of furniture that sat in the middle in between the other two pieces of furniture, don't drink. Lest ye die. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations. and that ye may put differences between holy and unholy, and between clean, unclean, and clean. That was a statute. Now see, when they broke the law, the laws of God are far different from the laws of the land. The laws of the land don't keep their statutes. They change theirs. God does not play. Y'all not keep. When your child or your son disrespects you, because that's not honoring your father or your mother, you don't kill them. You don't stone them to death. When your children blaspheme the Lord, I know some of them have. Y'all got kids that don't even want to hear nothing you talking about because they can't understand it. Y'all had them in Christianity. They don't believe it. You don't stone them to death. Y'all don't keep the statutes of God. All right? You don't keep his judgments. Let's go to Leviticus 24. Let's look at Leviticus 24. And, of course, they got some crazy names in here. I'm not going to be able to pronounce, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at Leviticus 24. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, command the children of Israel that they bring unto thee pure oil, olive, beaten for the light. Stop. Now, let's get your setting. You always need to get your setting, because this is not talking to you people. This people and this children are the children of the house of Levi. And then it breaks it down even more. These are the priest's children, because only the priest could handle the things of the Most High God. So these are the children of Israel concerning the priests that handle the things of God. To censer the lamps to burn continually, without the veil of the testimony, and without the veil of the testimony, in the tabernacle of the congregation. In the tabernacle of the congregation. So when they stood before this congregation and spoke these things, they were bringing in this oil. Okay, we'll get down to that and you'll get a better understanding. Without the veil of the testimony in the tabernacle of the congregation, shall Aaron order it for the evening until the morning before the Lord continually. It shall be a statute forever in your generations. Whose generations? Aaron. Aaron that's standing there in front of the congregation as he's ordering, making the order that they come in with this beaten oil. And y'all know what beaten oil is. I mean, today they have Crisco and they can put that in there and stick in it and burn it and it'll burn long. Well, that's what they did to this pure olive oil. They whipped it, they beat it until it was creamy, and it would put in the lamps and it could burn. And when it would get low, they had to continually put this wick in this oil in there to keep it going. In verse 4, he shall order the lamps upon the pure candlesticks before the Lord continually. So this is a statute. This is a statute that has to be performed. The statute is that they continually put the oil on there, and the judgment of that is that it burns. It can't go out. It has to continually burn. Verse 5. And thou shalt take fine flour and bake 12 cakes thereof. 2 tenths deal shall be in 1 cake. And thou shalt set them in 2 rows, 6 on a row upon the pure table before the Lord. And thou shalt, well, anyway, go ahead. Y'all read all that. I'm not going to go through all that. Y'all can read all that. We're going to get down here to the heart of this. Let's get down to the heart of this story, because this is dealing with the law and dealing with the commandments. Let's go to verse 10. No. Let's do 9, because I'm going to show you how in verse 9 this is getting to this law and the statute. But above that is telling you all the things that the children of Aaron, which are his sons and sons and sons, had to perform in front of the congregation. Let me see, I got it right here. So here's the curtain. This is the veil. This is the veil, and then this is the altar, and then this is the congregation, and this is the holy seat back here where God would sit and talk with the high priest. And this little piece of equipment right here is the congregation, and Aaron could stand in front of this, and the lamps and things were on the side, and they would bring in this oil and the bread and the flour and all that good stuff. All right, now in verse 9 it says, and it shall be Aaron's and his sons, and they shall eat it in the holy place. Where? In the temple. This is for his family only. Him and his sons and their sons and their sons and their sons and so on, family and children. Just Aaron. Not the rest of Levi. For it is most holy unto him, for the offering of the Lord made by fire, by a perpetual statute. This means forever, never cease. It has ceased now because we're not together and the priests are scattered amongst us. But that's what Levi's coming back to do. That's what Elijah's coming back to do, to set Levi back in order. All right, now let's go to verse 10. And the son of an Israelite-ish woman, whose father was an Egyptian, went out among the children of Israel. And this son of the Israelite-ish woman and a man of Israel stole together in the camp. All right now. So now we see here where something is wrong in Israel, but nobody said anything about it. Nobody went to the priest and told the priest, we got some sin going on in the camp and y'all need to do something about it. They let it go on. Nobody said anything because he had brought this Ishi woman in, like y'all want to do now. Y'all want to bring the Ishi in and marry the Ishi, or they was just stoving together. I mean, they just was shacking up, living in the land. So here comes her son out, okay, to cause confusion in Israel, with Israel. All right, verse 11. And the Israelitish woman's son blasphemed the name of the Lord and cursed. And no, he didn't say goddamn shit, hell, fuck, shit, motherfucker. He cursed. He put a curse upon Israel. He spoke something out of his mouth, evil, toward Israel, as if he wanted them, he wished they would all die. Or he placed a curse. He cursed. All right. And they brought him unto Moses. Didn't I tell you? Unless the priests are informed, unless the priests are told, nothing will be done. That's how I know y'all ain't keeping the laws and the statutes. All right. So they brought him unto Moses. Now, here comes the law. All right. That's just like if in your neighborhood, as we said, in a helica, and y'all call the police because somebody has done something. Now, here they come. Here come the law. All right. Now, and his mother's name was Shelomith, and the daughter of Debriah of the tribe of Dan. So Dan calls this shittery and fuckery going on in Israel happening right now, that Moses got to be disturbed because this foolishness is in the camp. Verse 12. And they put him inward. Didn't we say that? I mean, didn't I say that earlier? When the law comes and the law hears what was said about what took place, then they put him in a holding cell. See, they copied us. They took the way Israel lived, and they're trying to live by it, which they can't do. But this was the act that took place. Once the law was brought into play, then they tell you what the person did. Then that priest decides, oh yeah, we got to hold your ass because no, we got too many witnesses on what you did. So now he's in a holding cell. All right, they put him inward. All right, that is where you go when you have done something wrong. All right. Let me see where I'm at. And they put him inward, that the mind of the Lord might be shown them. They in here. They got him locked up. They went to find out what thus saith the Lord about this matter. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, bring forth him that have cursed without the camp, and let all the head, and let all that heard him lay their hands upon his head, and let all the congregation stone him. Now, who's the congregation? The sons of the high priest. The ones that are in the temple, that work inside the temple, come out and they shall stone him. Okay? It says, and thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel, saying, whosoever curseth his God shall bear his sin. See, God don't play. When God says, this is my law, these are my statutes, and this is my judgment, that's what has to take place. But not here in America. Over here, you can break the law depending on who you is. We'll take you over here. We'll let you sit and get paid for it. We ain't going to take your pay from you because, you are somebody. And then we'll decide, we get our story together, and then we'll come back and we'll say, you're not guilty. Based on our statute and how we changed it to fit our program. But that doesn't work for Israel. That's not how we do things. You get stoned to death. He will stone you to death. Let's look at Exodus 19. And let's look at verse 6. Let's look at verse 6. Let me go down here because I don't need y'all. Go ahead and read up above if you feel like it. And ye shall be unto me a kingdom of priests. So we already have started this out. We know who he's talking to. He's not talking to you if you are of any other tribe, including Judah. He's only talking to the priest and holy nation. The priest, that great nation. Y'all want to call somebody the nation of Israel? There's no such thing as no nation of Israel, you fools. These are the words which thou shalt speak unto the children of Israel. We're dealing with the priest now. So which children of Israel is he talking to? The little ones of the house of Levi. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him. And all the people answered together and said, all that the Lord hath spoken, we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord. Now y'all have made a covenant with God. And the Lord said unto Moses, lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee. Didn't I tell y'all? God don't speak to you. God does not talk to anybody but his high priest or his king. But he did at this time let you hear what he was saying to his high priest, to his leader, to the one that's over all the people. That's something that we want to stress and we want to get clear to you, because we have too many people hollering about God said this. You are blaspheming the Most High God. You better stop it. God told me this and God said that and I saw God and I got... Not the God of Israel. And if you're Hebrew and you believe you're Hebrew, let this be the last time you said that. We have told you numerous times. And see, we're inching up to the point where God is now getting to the point where he's going to start killing folk. Don't let that be you. We got to keep God's laws. We got to keep God's structure. We have to do, we can't do it right now. We can learn about God's law. We can learn about God's statutes, and we can learn the judgments of them, but they're not being acted out right now. Why? Because we're scattered abroad. We're in somebody else's land, in their prisons. This is a prison to us. We're in jail. God don't want to see you bringing him nothing. You can't bring him nothing, offer him nothing. He don't want nothing from you. You don't want prison shit. You don't want what you can scrape up in hell brought to him. God only takes the purest and the holiest and the righteous. You don't have nothing of fine that you can bring God. You don't have anything that's holy you can bring God. The best thing you can do is read and learn of him and learn of his people and learn of his ways and do the best that you can. And pray for his protection. Ask for his protection. Cry out for his protection, that he may protect you. But we want to get you set up for this Sabbath teaching, because the watchman's going to come in and break this thing down for you so that you have a clear understanding of what we're talking about. We want you to stop telling folks you keep God's law, you keep God's statutes, and you keep God's judgments. Because all the children of Israel would be dead if you did that. All right? So, like I said, I hope that we brought you some understanding. We hope it brought you a little bit of clarity on how this thing works when we're dealing with the commandments of God, the statutes of God, and the judgments of God. Because they have to follow in that order. There's no other way it can go, because then you're breaking his command. You're breaking the order structure of how God set things up. Okay? So we want to give him all the praise and all the honor. And we thank you, Israel, for tuning in this midweek teaching. And we hope that you learned a little something. And we hope that you come back for your Sabbath teaching so that you can get complete clarity of the teaching that's coming forth dealing with our Father and how strict he is upon Israel. Thank you. And I hope to see you this Sabbath.